Welcome, everyone, to another episode of In the Eye of the Hurricane, presented by Coastline Contractors. I'm your host, Chad Choate. I'm joined, as always, by the head football coach of the Manatee Hurricanes, Jacquez Green. We want to thank you for joining as we talk everything Manatee football. Coach, let's talk a little bit about not last week's game, maybe 3 weeks ago's game, but to end the regular season against Braden River High School, 41-0, held the shutout. As you all talked a little bit, or watched that game and evaluated it, what are your thoughts from the victory, obviously, several weeks ago against the Pirates?
Thought the kids came down and played hard, from the start. Thought we, set some type of dominance, from the first series on. It was for the district championship, so we need that victory to go undefeated in the district to at least, have a home playoff game. At least it was guaranteed a one playoff game be win your district. So thought the kids played well. Thought Andrew had a big game. We spread the ball out to all our receivers. We had a lot of guys out that game, so I was real proud of how a lot of the backups played that night and how they upheld the same standards as most of the starters. And defensively, we had about 6 or 7 new starters, and they pitched the shutout.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. That was one thing. On the defensive side of the ball, Ian hurt and Alboyd some guys out and things like that. I thought the defensive line really did a really fantastic job coming in and replacing some of those guys. Obviously, pitching a shutout, you don't really get much better than that, right, unless you score some points with it, which we didn't do defensively. But really looking at the offensive side of the ball, I thought just coming from a Palmetto game was the week before Braden River. Obviously, a physical, emotional game. And you get into Braden River, and it's kind of like, how are we going to continue to play that level? And Andrew Heidel plays at a phenomenal level. I think he was 297 total yards, 5 touchdowns, hit multiple wide receivers for touchdowns. I think Andrew is one of those guys that when he's on, he's dialed on, and it's been most of our games, right? It's really hard to stop when you have those many guys catching the ball for touchdowns.
They do such a great job. Andrew's been quarterbacking for 2 or 3 years now, and all the receivers have been here for a while. So they have a real good continuity between each other. Andrew really understands which route each one of them good at. He understands the matchup that each one of them presents with the defense. And also our young backs ran the ball well. I think Keith had 60, 70 yards, so maybe 8 or 9 carries. So he could have easily went over 100 yards if we ran the ball a little bit more. And Caden White continues to run the football real hard. So Andrew did a great job of, we had a few backup linemen and some young running backs in there. So Andrew did a good job of carrying the load and showing leadership on the field.
So obviously we end the season, 2 games less. We're 7-1. 8 games total in the season. We end up district champs. Then we have to wait a couple weeks. We're trying to maybe fill the games here and there. We obviously don't really get anybody to fill the games because we never were able to find anyone. And so now we're here sitting at the Wednesday of round 1 of the FHSA regional quarterfinal game coming up on Friday night. What did the last 2 or 3 weeks look like? I mean, one, have you ever gone through in your coaching stint? We talked about this right before we aired on the show. Have you ever gone through a coaching stint where you had this many weeks off in between games, and not only in between games, but now we're in the playoffs, so now it's do or die?
I've never went through this long of a stretch without playing a game, though. But the week after we got through playing Braden River was a good week for us to be off because we really didn't have a real bye week because when our actual bye week, we played on a Monday night. Then we had a hurricane. Another hurricane came, so the guys really never got a chance to really kick back and relax and really rest. So the first week after we played Braden River, we had a lot of guys banged up. So it gave a lot of guys a chance to recuperate and get treatment and get back to full health. And last week, I kind of figured we wouldn't find a game. Ain't too many people trying to play a good football team that late in the year. Some of the lesser teams don't want to get beat up. The good teams don't want to risk losing playoff spots.
And there's probably half the state had to play their district games, and so there wasn't a whole lot of teams to pick from initially anyway.
Yeah, the thing happened was the Hurricanes knocked a lot of people off both weeks of district games, so a lot of teams were backed up and had district games to play, and a lot of the district games supersedes the non-district games, so we didn't have anybody to play, but we went good on good in practice. It gave us a chance to get my young guys a lot of more reps than they usually would get during the season. Sort of like when the college teams get bowl preps and get a lot of extra practices. So Andrew went on a visit last weekend on Thursday, so it gave my younger guys a chance to get all the reps Friday in practice. So it was good for us. We went good on good, so we stay up to up to playing speed or playing opponent. We practice on both Fridays, so we'll try to stay up to speed of playing on Fridays. So it was good for us. We got a chance to just hone in on technique and just focus on technique and just go at each other. We didn't have any injuries, so I thought it was successful for us.
That's very good. And, be able to recuperate from injuries and not sustaining any more is fantastic. I'm sure you guys did some game-like scenarios, third down and that sort of thing, like always. So I don't have any thoughts that you all weren't prepared. I think you and your staff do a fantastic job. And just what a weird scenario, though. Just kind of a weird deal not having those games. But hey, that moves us to this Friday night, right? Those are excuses. That's in the past. It doesn't matter. This week it's the first round of the playoffs against a familiar foe, obviously in our district, Pinellas Park. You mentioned earlier we played them after a hurricane week. Short weekend. I think you guys came in maybe on a Saturday in practice, and then we played on a Monday. Kind of a weird, you're playing on a Monday. That's weird in general. And so when you go back and look at the game from earlier this year, it's very similar to the amount of days we had off and playing them to what it is now. So there is some similarities there. But when you went back and as you're preparing for this game this week against Pinellas Park, an opponent you've already played against, what was you and your staff's mindset, and how did you start preparing again to play Pinellas Park?
Well, the first thing we did was try to look at how similar they were back then to how they are now. Had the personnel changed to any new guys in different places? Are they just running some of the same scheme they ran before, or they changed up a lot? Because some teams change throughout the year. Some teams may get better at some things and start running that a lot more than they ran early in the year. You may have injuries on your defensive line, so you may go to a 3-man front instead of a 4-man front. So the main thing was, seeing if how much they've changed or how much they stayed the same. And then once that happened, we get into the game planning portion.
Well, they ended up the season 7-3. Losses to obviously us. I believe Largo in the very first game of the season in Northeast after us. So they have lost one game after us. They beat Brain River about the same as 41-13, somewhere around that range, if I remember correctly. And watching the film, I agree with you. I think they look very similar to what they did before, and maybe even to the point where a little bit they're not as some wings and some kind of the nub guys as they used to have. But one thing I did watch when I walked back and watched our film this week was I thought they actually dispersed the ball around a lot. I mean, they were actually giving it to multiple guys throughout the night, and they really start the game in a really good drive, and they score a touchdown right out of the jump. Obviously, we respond with a kickoff return right away, and then it's kind of downhill from there for them. But defensively, they were able to move the ball on us a little bit in that first drive, and I think we got it after that, figured out what they were doing.
Yeah, the first drive, they was taking a while to snap the football. I think they were snapping the ball with like 5 seconds left in the clock. That may have been their game plan. We'll try to milk the clock, shorten the game, keep their guys on the sideline, keep their offense on the sideline most of the night. Make them do something. Make them try to score real fast and they get the ball and turn it back over to us and milk the clock some more. So the first drive last time, they went directly down the field. I think it was aided by Parker with a personal foul on 4th down one time. So after that, we played lights out on defense. I thought we shut down the run. We got after their quarterback. He didn't have time to throw the football. So have to be similar tonight. Their whole game plan starts with their running back. He's a little thick guy that runs hard in between the tackles. So we have to slow him up and make those guys one-dimensional, and then our pass rushers can tee off on their pass game.
When you have a situation like this where you're playing a district opponent, you've already played before. Obviously, you talked about how you scouting them the last several games. They look the same as when we played them before, etc. From you and I saw in Huddle that you did a end of the year self scout and that sort of thing. When you're looking at it from us, what did we do against them successful, right? And you're going to want to emulate a lot of that stuff too. But are you looking at what are things that maybe we didn't do that we could do maybe now or we could have done then when we played them? Does that come in the game plan at all, maybe throwing wrinkles here and there?
Well, I made a complete brand new game plan. Then I really just went back and looked at the old game plan and and compare and see how much, how many plays were similar and how much plays were different, and kind of see like how I was thinking back then, how I was thinking right now. But we hit a lot of passes the last game that we thought we could hit in that game. I think Andrew, that's when he first started his streak of 4 or 5 touchdown passes. So we also left some plays out there that we can take advantage of this time. So we think we can run the ball against those guys. We think we got some places to throw the football. There was a heavy cover 3 team the first time, but they did, after we hit a few passes, they did start trying to show some cover 4 and trying to keep the ball in front of them. So I got a feeling they'll try to play a little bit more for this game and try to keep the ball in front of them, and just make us run the football and kill some clock.
Well, how do we? You were talking earlier as far as injuries go. You feel like we're about as healthy as we possibly can be. No major injuries. There's no major knees, ankles, things like that at all.
Yeah, we're as healthy as you can be this time of year. You're gonna be beat up and
sure,
you're gonna have bumps and bruises this time of the year. But I think Braden River, we had like 8 guys out.
Yeah.
So all those guys are back. So we should be at full strength. I don't really see any of our starters that'll be out. The main thing now will be conditioning, and some of the guys haven't played in a while, and some of the guys a few of them haven't even practiced in a while because of the injuries. So, but those guys are mentally tough, and I think they'll push through and push themselves. And we have some depth that we can spell those guys and keep bringing in fresh guys to try to defend Pinellas Park.
Well, I think the biggest thing to me that I looked at is, even if we didn't get a game in the 2 weeks, was we're a very mature team, a lot of seniors, good leadership, and this is their last chance, right? And I think they're going to be prepared to make sure everybody else is prepared as well. Before I let you go, I do want to get into talk just a little bit about the playoff situation, the scenarios, the things like that that's happening. Obviously, we're first in the region, so hey, I know you got to win the first one, no question about it. But that potentially puts us at 3 games home, for the region final game. Would be in the 3rd round. I think that's phenomenal for us to be able to have a chance to have 3 home games, right? I know you like going away, and sometimes I don't mind either. I don't mind getting out and getting away from stuff, but it is nice to be home and knowing that, hey, look, we're going to be home for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's good to play at home. I think even though I like playing on the road more, a lot of kids probably more comfortable playing at home. Only thing is, I don't know anything about these teams we're about to play. Though,
Very true.
Possibly, no. We got to get past Pinellas Park first, but everybody else I've seen in the bracket, we've never played them since I've been here.
Same.
I think they all play each other down in Naples and Fort Myers areas. So, and that's also fun, though. It's one thing to see a team on film, but when you see a team in person and they moving like totally different.
And I like playing different teams, right? Like I like playing different teams. It's not the same. Riverdale, North Fort Myers, Cape Coral. And and as we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks with different folks and stuff, is we don't know what's like. They've all beaten each other. And it was close to a 3-way tie for the district, one of them, and which is fun. I love being able to see different people and different teams and getting different fans up here. Obviously, if we do win Friday night, we play the winner of Immokalee or Cape Coral. I've never played Immokalee. Obviously, that's where Ernest Graham went. Correct.
Cape Coral.
He went Cape Coral.
Immokalee, Edrin James.
Edrin James. There it is. The famous Edrin James went to Immokalee. We did play Cape Coral back in 2007. I'm waiting for Chris Peters to holler at me. 2007. Very bad call. Very, very bad call. And Ben Axon was absolutely in for a touchdown. Horrible call. So I wouldn't mind seeing Cape Coral again. Although those kids don't know anything about it and our kids don't know anything about it, it'd be good for the fans. But I agree. I like playing different teams, and it's an exciting time of the year. There's no question. It could be maybe a little bit cooler, right? Like, let's get into November and be a little bit cooler, but I'm excited.
Yeah, the weather has felt very good the last few days. It's not as humid as it's been. I thought we probably had one of our better Monday practices this year that we had all season long. Monday is the time that's usually installing new things, so it kind of can get ragtag with the kids seeing new looks and new calls, what have you. But we had a good day on Monday, and we put together another good day on Tuesday. So I'm looking forward to see how the kids come back and have a good week of practice, because that's the main thing I preach to the kids all the time. You got to practice well to be able to play well in the game. None of you guys are good enough just to practice bad and show up and all of a sudden just look like world beaters. So we emphasize practicing good, and we emphasize scout team giving good looks.
Well, it's absolutely worked this year, Coach. We're 7-1, district champs, hosting the first round of the playoffs this year. So I want to thank you, Coach, for joining, taking some time away before practice today. I want to thank you, Hurricanes fans out there, for tuning in. We look forward to seeing everybody this Friday night, Joe Kinnan Field to Hawkins Stadium, 7:30 p.m. kickoff as we take on the Pinellas Park Patriots in the first round of the FHSA playoffs. As always, go Canes, go!